Hello, Serendipitous here, and this is welcome to I guess a prelude or a prologue, shall we say, of my art journey that I wanted to record on my YouTube channel. So, basically, in this video, I'm going to be focusing on art that I have created before I started practicing and trying to get better at drawing and art in earnest. Okay. I'll talk more about like why I started my art journey in the first place in a different video, but here I'm focusing on uh, basically where I was at before this point. A lot of what I'm going to show you is some of my own drawings that I made when I was a teenager, around like age 13 to 16 years old, usually for the most part, and along with a couple of other art pieces that I created about 5 years ago for different projects as Serendipitous. Basically, the whole point of this is to give you a baseline of where I was starting, essentially. So I was pretty much always a creative kid. I was very involved in music and theater. I had a couple of art classes in middle school and high school. And so this here, this sketchbook is essentially the sketchbook I used in an art class while I was in high school. All right. There are a bunch of post-it notes on it because I, of course, we were basically being, I signed a lot of these with my actual name, so there's that. But so you won't see that. However, I think this is a good way to kind of demonstrate kind of where I was art-wise a long time ago. So anyway, and then I'm also going to show a bunch of sketches and character designs that I made when I was a teenager as well. I drew a lot. Not saying these are necessarily good. I'm saying that when I was starting my art journey, I wasn't necessarily starting from zero. I was starting very much as a beginner, and I learned the fundamentals of a lot of the fundamentals of like just generally what makes art good, right? The things that you would learn in a high school or middle school art class. So anyway, I'm going to be pulling this sketchbook away a few times so I can make sure I'm on the right page and everything. But yeah, there's just sort of a lot of pencil sketches in here. The way that this class worked was, we learned about a lot of the fundamentals of drawing and also in creating projects of different mediums. For example, there was a ceramics part of the class. So this is a cup. We had to make a pot and a set of teacups. So I wanted to try to make an Arabian style like palace. I was involved in a theatrical version of Aladdin at the time, and I wanted to make these. So I made like four of these plus a ginormous pot with this kind of like Aladdin, Agrabah, Arabian kind of architecture. Obviously very lumpy, not very refined, but it was high school, right? That's an example. I made a bunch of other things. There was like paper mache and whatever. And there's also a lot of drawing. And we did some other cool stuff too. Like this is one of those scratch boards where it all starts as all black and then you scratch things off and it's practicing on that and everything. And we had a bunch of other sort of like handouts and stuff and exercises. Like this is not something I drew. This is just a handout that we got to kind of go over drawing different textures and things like that, right? So anyway, oh yeah, and we had so for our sketchbook we were generally graded in certain ways. This was the general rubric essentially. The teacher was looking for a strong composition, wanted to see a full use of the page, strong value range, so value like dark and light, use pencil, and also be creative. And then also just kind of like general steps of a drawing, and this is me practicing shading from dark to light and so forth. So every so often you'll see a number written in marker, and that's the teacher kind of giving points. I think this is probably the points for the whole sketchbook. So I think I got like 45 out of 50 points. Not bad. Mostly you'll probably see the number 20 or something because the teacher gave about 20 points per up to 20 points per piece of art. Okay. So let's see here. Obviously we had still life, right? So put up a squirt bottle and had to draw it. Tried drawing simple shapes, and then worked for the whole pretty much the whole class period to make this good bottle. And I was sort of just looking at this and some of my other drawings in which I was copying something. I realized that even as a teenager, I was actually pretty good at copying things directly from a reference, right? Obviously, not perfect at all. Like, there's not a lot of depth in this part, and some of it's a little bit wonky. But by and large, I think I started giving up after I worked so hard on this part up here, and then it just kind of like deteriorates from there. But by and large, not bad. I'm pretty impressed with myself. I have not looked at this in a very. I've not looked at this sketchbook in. Honestly, it's probably been like decades, basically. Oh yeah, some still life sketches. Like a bucket or something like that, a guitar, things like that, right? Okay, so here's where we're starting to get to, I think we were supposed to draw, like fill up a page every like, I don't know, week or something like that, right? So a lot of my drawings were based on sort of my own made up world at the time. I had this whole world full of like robots and superheroes and all kinds of things, right? And they all met on this island. This is a stadium that I sort of designed, and it was just a lot of a conglomeration of like all my favorite movies and books and video games at the time and things like that, right? Just all the whole the kind of the world that I created as a kid. I don't use it very much anymore, but it's certainly still looking at the old stuff still inspires me. So, but yeah, I like the shading I did in some of these here. This was some kind of like a stadium of some sort. Let me see here. Sorry, just making sure I have the correct page. Okay, yeah. Also, some of these drawings were inspired by my upbringing as well. So I was raised and I still am as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Some people use the term Mormon. Don't really use that term anymore. Not that that's offensive or anything. We just don't use it. But yeah, and this is me drawing of a picture of Joseph Smith Jr., who was born on December 23rd, 1805, along with a picture of the gold plates and the I think this is the Nauvoo Temple. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, this is based on like a seminary manual, essentially. There's a seminary manual that kind of had, Joseph Smith and these sorts of things configured like this. I wanted to try to draw it, so probably not the best drawing, but some shading was decent. I think the building and the metal book was very good, for example. So there's that. And here we are back to some of my characters. I made very liberal use of my finger, kind of like rubbing the graphite and everything. So you can see a lot of that with just like a lot of smearing. I really like that effect a lot. I thought that was really cool. So here you can see a couple of my characters that I created. I think I called this guy Phantom. This is basically a wizard, a very basic wizard. And then I called this guy Tobias. This is actually based off of a Lego minifigure that I kind of built myself with different pieces, and I gave him a lightsaber, and I called him like he was like a Jedi or something. And yeah, this is the crystal, the Lego piece crystal with a disc on top of his cylindrical head, and that was Tobias. So anyway, and that's just kind of the design there. But yeah, there's that. What else? A bunch of random stuff. Random stuff that I thought was cool. Castle, various characters from my world, pirate ship battles, Monopoly. I was a fan of Monopoly at the time. I know I was insane. So there's that. Let's see what's next. Okay, went a little crazy on this one. This is a robot character. Doing a kind of like a target practice kind of game, essentially. This is a target in the middle of a star field, like training field sort of a thing. But yeah, it kind of like Ender's Game-esque, kind of stuff. I actually remember I spent so long on the like using like shading the majority of this page. And I remember I was spending part of it at some kind of Christmas party or something, and like Santa Claus was coming around. He saw that I was drawing this, and he said, I don't see me on there. What's going on?" He was like joking around. Anyway, you may have noticed I configured some of these stars or some of the white globs in the word as the word art here to try to be a little bit clever. I don't know. I thought it was fun. What's next here? Okay. So this is I created chess character designs. Not the most creative, but basically a chess king and a chess queen with bishops on either side, and then a pawn is giving a report where the king is thinking and the queen is like shocked. I definitely incorporated the way they move into some of their any like pieces of design. For example, this staff that the queen has is like that's the way the queen moves, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's and also the thrones are based on the crowns that you see. I sometimes kind of like did a preliminary drawing of generally what it would look like first, and then kind of drew the finished piece on the next page. Moving on, this is once again more zany characters that I created. That was the initial sketch, and then this is. This is actually based on a sculpture that I created. I was trying to make a castle tower that was sort of like these stone tentacles are sort of like combining into this tower because for a part of the sculpture part of the class, we were supposed to make something that wasn't heavy. It wasn't like a heavy set. It needed to have like feet on it or something. We couldn't just make a block. And so I wanted to make a castle tower, but I tried to be creative by making tentacles. So this is my drawing of that. It's long broken now, but yeah, various characters from different factions looking at this hero on a tower that I made again from my like little world essentially. Let's see here. I think I skipped a few pages. Here we go. Most of this sketchbook is empty, by the way, but I don't plan on using this sketchbook. It's kind of torn apart and stuff. But I was really into nutcrackers as well, so I drew 3 nutcrackers. So I think they look kind of cool. What else? Oh yeah, I played the cello in an orchestra, and so I think this is meant to be me playing the cello. Not terrible. Also, fun fact: I was composing music as a teenager and also into my college years, and so this music here, bass clef and 4/4, this is an actual piece of music that I had written, and so it goes something like this: na 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 na. Sorry. Na 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 na. Na 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 da na 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 da na 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 na. That's not the exact melody that I originally wrote. It's just the variations just to fill up the page, essentially. I wanted to make this really lovely kind of like a music line and everything. But that was a melody that I had created and used in a couple of my compositions at the time. And this is basically me playing one of my melodies, which I thought was, I had a lot of fun with this one. Okay, this is another kind of like church history related one. Remember the Pioneers. And yeah, did a preliminary sketch. And this is the Latter-day Saint pioneers, or Mormon pioneers, if you will, on the kind of trekking towards the out west, essentially. And this is kind of like the temple in Salt Lake City, Utah, where they made it. No matter where no matter where you live in the world, the pioneers that made the trek across the U.S. into the western area is definitely an important part of early church history. So I think I was learning about church history at the time, so I kind of made this drawing of these people, and actually I did a there was a sort of a church youth trip where we went out and actually pulled these hand carts and kind of got to kind of live the life of a pioneer for a couple of days and went camping and stuff. I brought out my harmonica, so I drew a guy playing a harmonica out here, just general music notes around, and then they're walking out into the valley and everything. I really like pirates, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, definitely. So there's general pirates. You can kind of see how I draw people, essentially. Here's another kind of church-related one. This is based on the armor of God from the Bible. I can't remember exactly where, but shield of faith, helmet of, shield of faith, sword of the spirit, breastplate of righteousness, loins girded with virtue, helmet of. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm so sorry, but I was basically trying. Maybe it was like helmet of salvation or something. Anyway, also CTR, choose the right, another Latter-day Saint thing as well. Just CTR, just a reminder. Choose the right. Growing up in church youth programs, I was fortunate to have had a lot of positive experiences personally. Everyone's experience is different, but it was definitely a big part of my life, and so you can see that in the drawings that I made. Pretty sure that's it for this sketchbook here, my high school sketchbook. I'll show a couple of other things as well. I mentioned this world that I created. This is a demonstration of how I drew characters, also my character design. You'll notice a bunch of smeared and bleeding purple ink. What I was trying to do is I was trying to document everything. I was trying to use a purple pen to kind of add notes to show that this is part of my documentation. Unfortunately, the ink of the pen was kind of terrible because it bled through the other side of the page. But anyway, these are basically a bunch of character designs. And also you can see how I drew people. Very blocky, simple shapes and everything, but it got the idea across, and I thought they looked cool, right? So these are just a lot of my drawings from my teenage years, and all these different designs that I made. This is basically where I started. This is where my drawing started. I'm not going to show absolutely everything. It would take too long anyway. I'm going to stop it about here, but I've got all kinds of stuff. Just pages and pages of all these things, and I was trying to write a book and everything. But yeah, that is where I started in my art journey officially. And I'm going to end the video with another video clip of two pieces that I drew back in 2020 to kind of show that even though these are a bunch of teenager drawings, serendipitous as a teenager drawings, I didn't really improve very much as an adult. So I'm gonna move over to the other video clip to kind of show the other pieces, the two other pieces, to kind of show where I truly started before starting this art journey. All right, so like I said, there are two things I wanted to kind of show off here. So first of all, this is something that I made. Well, this is a sketch of something. I'll show the completed version in a moment, of something I made in April of 2020. This was something, basically, there was something from, I think there was some kind of contest going on. And it was like on the Amino app or something. In the Brawlhalla community somewhere, to kind of create your own legend. And so I spent like a couple of hours trying to basically create a different version of Scarlet. I wanted to make a kind of like this robot version of Scarlet. I wanted to call her Dim Flux Scarlet, because Ether Flux is something in Scarlet's lore in Brawlhalla, and I wanted to kind of make a sort of what if she had somehow turned into some kind of a robot or something? I spent some time fiddling with some kind of like free online 3D model of a person to try to make this kind of a pose, and then I spent a while like sketching generally what I wanted, and then I started finalizing some more details, line art in progress. then this is the final line art of Dim Flux Scarlet, where I kind of design the hat and the outfit and the hammer and the way that Scarlet would look. And then this is my coloring it, essentially. I'm not sure why that happened. This is me coloring it. I feel like I didn't do the best job coloring it exactly, but then because my wife Cobweb really likes coloring, I asked her to try it out as well. She went by the username Blaze for a bit, another D&D character, but then when I told her that there was a Brawlhalla Pro player who went by Blaze, she changed to to Cobweb. So anyway, so this is an alternative coloring that Cobweb made of Dim Flux Scarlet. I kind of like this one a little bit more, actually. This one is kind of cool. Anyway, so I spent like an hour or like 2 hours trying to make this. And then another one I made later, a couple months later. This is a piece, I call it Walking the Wire, where essentially, can I zoom in? Here we go. During the year of 2020, I was working on an audio, like a fan-made audio drama project called Brawlhalla Underworld, in which there was an artist in the community who's not involved in the community anymore, but she made all these really cool, like, crime, film noir kind of designs for various Brawlhalla characters. And I thought it was such a cool world that I talked to the artist and asked if I could try to create a story using this world that she had created. And she was in full support of it. And I had like 50 or 60 other people in the community working on it. The project eventually fizzled out. But during the height of the project, I was listening to an Imagine Dragons song called Walking the Wire. And this image just popped in my head. These are three of significant characters in the story. Here is Mirage, who is a sort of private investigator with sort of like a turtleneck sweater and pants and everything. Then we have Orion. I really like this version of Orion where he's kind of like this normal guy with involved in some like shady business. Most people in this story were involved in shady business. And he has this kind of gold mask on. Some of it kind of inspired by the crossfade Orion with the blue tie and everything. And then Artemis was kind of his opposite, where she had a silver mask and kind of like a white button-up t-shirt. Not white button-up shirt with a collar. And she's trying to, she's basically Orion's second in command, but also she's trying to get at Orion, but she never can. And so I just this is not something that happens in the actual story, but this is sort of a kind of a dreamy interpretation of the relationship between these three major characters, where Mirage is kind of doing her own thing, having fun, bouncing on the wire, a bit cautiously as well, her arms are out. And then Orion is kind of like quietly behind her. There's sort of a romance that goes on between them. And he's very cool and collected, very nonchalant. And he also knows that Artemis is stalking behind him. And I imagine sort of like listening to the song Walking the Wire by Imagine Dragons, that each of these characters are walking every other beat. So we're walking the wire. Yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know if you can hear. Okay, we're walking the wire, love. We're walking the wire. Yeah, they take a step on each of these snaps. So anyway, I was literally listening to Walking the Wire on repeat while I was drawing this, and it probably took me about an hour to draw this as well. So there you go. This is, I think it's probably some slight improvements from, my teenage drawings, but I think you can kind of tell that I was trying to make it as good as I could, but I was basically using a lot of the same principles and style that I was as a teenager. So that's where I started. This is the sort of the prologue to my art journey. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, all the best.